57 in Fairburn, 54 in Lovejoy, 60 in Midtown. More news at 11:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
Well, would you look at that? This is the Nightcap with yours truly, and most importantly, your buddy, Jared Yamamoto. This is my new talk show, typically heard every Saturday night from 11 to midnight, right here on 95.5 WSB. And oh, do we have a huge show for you, my goodness. I came in here fully anticipating talking about March Madness. In fact, I've got the UCLA-Tennessee game on as we speak. Should be a good one. My wife is a Tennessee Vol. God bless her. I know we accept her here on the home of the Dogs. But now that Georgia's out, I guess we can have a soft spot for Tennessee, at least in basketball. Definitely not in football. But I have got the game on in studio. And I really want to go off on the Degree deodorant commercial. In fact, maybe, you know what? I'll just go on and start off with this because this may be the most effective marketing campaign ever or the most disgusting marketing campaign ever. Because what Degree deodorant has done, which, by the way, if you have not seen this commercial, number one, you're not actually watching March Madness. You're not watching the games because I feel like it's on during every commercial break. Or perhaps maybe it's the streamer that I'm using. Maybe it's one of those autofill ads. But regardless, I am getting this Degree deodorant commercial all the time. And the way it advertises is it's the deodorant for everywhere. And we mean everywhere. And then the person winks at you and it's like, you can use it under your underboob. You can use it on your legs. You can use it in your private parts. And for me, I find that to be disgusting. As somebody that travels a decent amount and occasionally forgets their deodorant and relies on my dear wife, who I know would not use the deodorant for those kind of purposes, but occasionally you have to bum a deodorant stick from a family member or a friend before you can get to a store. If you're in a time crunch or something like that, we've all been there. Don't act like you're above me here because people are like, oh, that's disgusting. I know. Believe me, we've all been in that time crunch where you have to borrow somebody else's deodorant stick. But if I see a Degree deodorant stick from here on out, I'm going to be hesitant. I'm like, I'd rather just stink. I would rather just emit bodily odor instead of using your Degree deodorant because of how disgusting this commercial is during March Madness. Again, we're the deodorant for everybody and for everywhere. And I'm like, ugh, that's just disgusting to me. I have more to say about that. I want to talk about the tournament. And again, my in a nutshell, my theory as to why I like March Madness so much, because I tried to avoid it this year. This is the first year that my beloved alma mater, West Georgia, went D1. I was really hoping that we would make the big dance. We did not. But my theory as to why I like March Madness so much is because both my mother and father went to University of North Carolina, UNC, and it's been one of the few sports in my lifetime that I've always felt success, or we've always been successful in it, right? I'm also the biggest Atlanta sports fan that you know. And as an Atlanta sports fan, as many of you guys and gals are out there, you know how it is. It can be a bit of a struggle being an ATL sports fan. And I think with March Madness, the reason why I liked it is because there was always a legit chance that UNC could make things interesting and win a championship. It seems like every 10 years they win a championship. So they are what you call a dynasty in the college basketball world. I know that college sports, you don't have dynasties per se because, you know, the players end up going on to play professional ball, but they are one of the best programs in all of college basketball. And I think that that's why I've always enjoyed this time of year. And I've just been hooked over the past couple of days, watched an unhealthy amount of March Madness, and I've got more to say about that along with the deodorant and some other alternative ways to market Degree deodorant that can still be effective but be less disgusting. But first, where I wanted to start this week is a big thank you to everybody that tuned in last week during our severe weather coverage. It was an absolute honor to serve each and every one of you, along with our chief meteorologist, Christina Edwards, and our entire breaking news and traffic teams here at WSB. We were under a tornado warning for a little while last week in the Paulding County area. I think an EF1 ended up touching down around the Dallas area, and it was scary there for a while. And I was so grateful here at WSB that they let me go on the air early at 10 o'clock, and I stayed on until 2 a.m., doing my nightcap and just trying to make sure that everybody was informed with the latest up-to-date information on all the storms that were coming through Metro Atlanta. So if you're new to the nightcap, welcome. This is more of what I usually do every single week here from 11 to midnight. And we'll get a chance to be a little bit goofy. We're going to be fun. I'm going to get a little bit political. But this is what we do. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to me on the Von Hessler Doctrine earlier this week, I'm also a member of that show from 3 to 7 daily here on WSB as well. So I welcome all the new listeners that may have been tuning in during those storms last week, and appreciate all of the feedback that you guys have been giving me on my socials. You guys have been incredibly sweet. And just remember, it's a calling for me. I love coming in here, trying to help people as best I can, and it's an honor to serve you. And I just want to send a big thank you for those that were tuning in and sending all the kind words. I know we took some calls and some open mics as well, too. And if you're new to the nightcap, welcome. This is what we do. So this is just one of those shows where there's a lot of stuff going on. And as I mentioned at the top, I could go into all March Madness, but I feel like since last week, I didn't get political at all with the storms going on. I've got to get political because I feel like this was Trump's worst week in his presidency. And I know people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, oh, no, Jared, I knew it. I knew you were a liberal. That's not the case at all here. If you're new to the show, I am a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. I have been leaning a lot more with Republicans over the past couple of years just because of the overall agenda. And in my opinion, the biggest impact for my family in the future, the biggest concerns that I have are our economy, the national debt, infrastructure, and education. And you could probably see where I'm going here with this. With Trump this week, a couple of things that he did. Number one, this continued fight with U.S. District Judge James Boasberg out of Washington, where he sent Venezuelan crime members to El Salvador. I mean, just the pushback from all this is just getting ridiculous here. There's an appeals process to that, and the fact that he thinks that he can just go around judges is absurd. And if you believe that he can do that, just remember, and I have to give myself a lot of credit here, I've been saying this on the Von Hessler Doctrine for a couple of weeks, on my nightcap for the past couple of weeks. If a president gets that kind of power where they can just suddenly go around judges, we are going to have the most progressive president of all time behind Trump, J.D. Vance. It might not be, again, in the next 4, 8, 12 years, but behind it, there will be a progressive president that will have these exact powers that we don't want that kind of person to have. You're not going to want a progressive president to have those kind of powers, which is why the Constitution puts limits on presidential power, which is why there is a balance between the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. And there are so many instances this week where Trump just did not do a good job. So I know there's a lot of people talking about that, but where I want to focus in on is the Department of Education, right? I know that the Department of Education overall is a boondoggle. It really hasn't helped education overall in this country, in my humble opinion. And I know there are a lot of teachers out there that are going to be outraged with me, but in my opinion, the way that Trump should have handled the executive order essentially dismantling the Department of Education is to say, I am putting education back within the states, back within states' powers, expanding states to be more governmental over their own departments of education. That's how you actually pitch that there, instead of just eliminating a department of the federal government. Because for most people, when you read a headline that says Trump's getting rid of the Department of Education, you think, why would somebody get rid of education? It's just not a good PR move for him. And for somebody that loves to have the positive PR post, the positive poll numbers all the time, there's somebody that likes the positive news stories coming out about him, I'm just surprised that he went about it from this angle. He should have focused more, and this is on his PR team as well too, on giving the power back to the states and saying it's not that we're disempowering education or that we're trying to eliminate education in this country. What we're trying to do is to say, let's get rid of some of the bureaucracy of the federal government and allow Georgia to decide where its money needs to go more effectively than having somebody in Washington decide where the money in Georgia needs to go, for example, or for in Alabama or any of these states. So I just felt like that was a PR loss for him there. And I had to explain this to several people that the Department of Education was made under Jimmy Carter. A lot of people thought that it was like an old department, and people were really surprised that he would go after it. And even just in some conversations earlier today, while grabbing lunch and even dinner earlier tonight, I'm like, guys, this is what he's trying to do here. So the fact that I'm having to go out there and explain something to people that don't understand says to me that it was a PR issue to just dismantle the Department of Education and not give more context as to why you were doing it. The other thing is he needs to stop Steve Bannon from saying things like this. This outraged me a couple weeks ago, and it's outraging me again. Steve Bannon, who was was a huge part of the first Trump presidency, went on Chris Cuomo's News Nation show, and there is this idea that Trump is going to have a third term, and he keeps on saying it here. And I got to tell you, if Republicans want to guarantee a loss in the next election cycle, whether it's J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, or whoever decides to run after Trump, keep on spouting this here. Keep on spouting this information, and I guarantee you, you are going to usher in the most progressive president, and you'll be looking, you're like, Jared, you were right. You were so right about things. And I'm like, I know I was right about this. But again, listen to what Steve Bannon told Chris Cuomo about Trump running for a third term.
I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
So you want to create another bad PR headline for this presidency? Already, consumer confidence is down right now, and the reason why consumer confidence is down is because this is the thing that most presidents don't understand: is that there are 40% of Americans that are typically for you at a given time, 40% that are against you, and then the other 20% are the ones that swing one way or the other. They're uncertain. There are a lot of these swing voters that ended up getting Trump into office. And oftentimes when people get in power, whether it's Biden, whether it's Obama, whether it's Trump, it's amazing to me how they forget about that 20% in the middle that ends up swaying things drastically in each direction. And right now, consumer confidence is down. And I think from a PR standpoint, what Trump needs to do is he needs to tell people that we are ushering in a new era of a re-industrialized America. We are right now in a quiet recession. And I know that this is an unpopular term, but this is exactly what's going on. A quiet recession is a situation where some people experience economic hardship despite overall economic indicators suggesting a strong economy. That's exactly what's going on. That's what's going on in West Midtown. That's what's going on around Atlanta now. I am convinced of this quiet recession that's going on now. And I wish Trump were just more open about what he's trying to do. What he's trying to say is we need to get away from depending on other nations for our manufacturing. And that's fine. That's good. That's a good idea to bring some of these manufacturing jobs back to the United States so that way we're not dependent on other nations to do so. But he's not doing a good job of doing that. And that all fell this week along with the third term. I've got more to say about this. Also, there are a couple of AI stories. I saw that California is passing laws to help prevent people from getting duped from AI. I'll tell you why that's not going to work. And also, Hollywood's getting involved now, too, trying to get Google to prevent AI. Guys, the box is already open. We can't stop it now. There are other ways to deal with AI. I've got those solutions, some local stories, and even more when my Nightcap returns in just a few minutes. We are proudly brought to you by Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Yes, I see the follows and the friend requests coming in on my socials at Jared Yamamoto. Welcome, especially to those that were tuning in last week during our severe weather coverage here on WSB. It was an honor to serve you from 10 until 2 a.m. last week. And if you've never heard what I do, welcome. You got a little taste of it there in the first segment. Basically, on my Nightcap, it's a journey to understand the world the latest current events, and of course, all things Atlanta. I am Jared Yamamoto, and my show is usually on from 11 to midnight. And you can also hear me on the Von Hessler Doctrine daily from 3 to 7 here on WSB. Now, I went super long in the last segment, so I'll get back into my political philosophy and why I think it's been the worst week for Trump in his presidency, at least so far. Now, again, Democrats are in disarray. I'm not here to say, suddenly he's a liberal or anything like that. The Democrats have their own problems going on, and their problems are much greater, in my opinion, than what Trump's dealing with. But it was not a good PR week for Trump. And I alluded to some of those in the prior segment, but I'll get to those again after news, weather, and traffic. But a couple of things that just show that this world is absolutely insane now. Number one, the amount of people on X that actually think that the astronauts landing, or I guess having the splashdown earlier this week from SpaceX was fake, is absolutely insane. It absolutely happened, and all these videos that I'm seeing on X are just wild. I mean, there's just a lot of idiots out there, and I'm just kind of blown away by it. And kind of in the same vein there, I was driving in, and I was listening to Hannity on the way in, and the world is somewhat upside down when one of Hannity's callers called in and was bragging about his Tesla. He was a conservative that was proud to have a Tesla. Meanwhile, Teslas are some of the most resold cars right now on the market. They're getting turned in to dealerships left and right because of the politics of Elon Musk. And it's just so odd to me. I never thought in a million years that I would see the day that suddenly conservatives would be touting the 0 to 60 pickup speed of a Tesla on Sean Hannity. I never thought I would see the day that would happen, but we live in crazy times, and that just shows you kind of the state of the world. I am curious on whether or not you guys partook in Earth Hour earlier from 8:30 to 9:30, where you turned off all your lights for 1 hour to help preserve the world's natural resources and cut down on pollution. I saw the Empire State Building did it, and they showed other places around the world. I can tell you that I did not, because we're in the middle of the madness right now. It's March Madness. You can't tell me to turn things off in the middle of March Madness. You're absolutely insane. When we come back, I will get to more of my political viewpoints, why I think it's Trump's worst week so far in his presidency. Also, I'm so bummed that I missed the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I'll tell you why. And also, these allergy numbers that are going on. So far, the allergy numbers are ticking up here in Georgia. But your beloved host, if you know me, I have the worst allergies. I haven't felt a thing yet, and I'm grateful. All this after news, weather, and traffic. More Nightcap in just a few minutes.
Currently 62 in Midtown and 61 in Snellville. More news for you at 12 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. Canales on 95.5 WSB.
Wow, this Snow White movie really is getting some bad reviews from the critics. I thought the critics were going to bail this actress, Rachel Ziegler, out a little bit. And I've been cautious about it because she's in her 20s and she's going to say dumb things. I've said plenty of dumb things in my 20s. Hell, I still say dumb things in my 30s. And so I kind of cut her some slack. I know people are like, I can't believe that she would hate on, old traditional Disney characters. She's in her 20s. She's going to say dumb things. But it looks like it's a genuinely bad movie. By the way, this is the Nightcap with yours truly, Jared Yamamoto, and I'm only on until midnight, so I got to cover a lot of stuff here. And I've been cautious about the Snow White movie. In fact, I'll go on and put this in our brand new sounder. It's been a segment for a while, the news of the night, but we'll see whether or not you guys like the sounder or not.
It's the news of the night.
I like it. Kobe, you like it over there? Kobe's making sure to get my voice to each and every one of you, flying the big WSB spaceship. He's nodding his head. He seems to like it. I'll play it again.
It's the news of the night.
Nice, quick, and easy, and allows people to understand what we're talking about. I'm seeing 42% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics on this new Snow White movie. But the reason why I don't want to see it is, number one, Disney has just failed on these live-action movies. They've just let me down so many times. I'm a Disney kid. I grew up loving Disney movies. I'm not even going to try to lie to you. I'm the youngest talk show host here on this station at 36 years old. You can hate me all you want for liking Disney movies, and I grew up on them, and so I liked them. And to be let down by so many of them already, especially the Beauty and the Beast remake That was terrible. The Cinderella one was okay, but I just couldn't stop looking at the actress's eyebrows. I mean, they were just so ridiculous that you could not look at those eyebrows. They were so obnoxious in every single shot. And then they did, I guess you call it a live action Lion King, but in reality, it's just we're going to take an animated Lion King and make it a CGI Lion King. And it was just bad. All these have been overall pretty bad. And that's why I'll just wait for it to come out on streaming. I know I typically do a segment here on the Nightcap called What's Jared Watching? But really what I'm kind of waiting for now is I'm waiting for Sinners, and I'm also waiting for Last of Us to return on April 13th on Max. Those are the two shows that I am the most excited about as of right now. So I'm pumped about those, but I'm just not excited about Snow White. And again, like Rachel Ziegler is going to say dumb things. Actresses say dumb things. The question is, did she do a good job portraying Snow White? And of course, as of right now, people are saying that she is not or did not do a good job of portraying Snow White. All right, now let's get back to the politics here for a second, because I was hard on Trump and the Republicans there for a little bit. I think it's been Trump's worst week of his presidency so far, but the Democrats have their own problems. And one thing that Bernie Sanders said earlier this week to bring in more Democratic voters, I feel like is the exact right type of person for Democrats to continue to vote. This is the exact kind of person that the Democrats need to bring back into their party to be able to expand and be competitive in elections again. Because right now, I mean, they're in disarray. As bad as Trump's week was, the Democrats are in disarray. I liked what Bernie had to say here.
Working class people, young people, people who get their hands dirty, people who may not have graduated college, people who do not have PhDs in economics, people who are struggling to put food on the table. They've got to be involved. We got to listen to them. They are the future of the Democratic Party. And if we're going to transform this country and stop Trumpism, they are the people who are going to have to take the lead.
Amen. You cannot go after college-educated, kind of snarky, elite people all the time, because there's only so many of those people. And when you get them together, believe me, I've got some friends that are like this, and I love them dearly. But when I bring up things and I'm like on the pro-Trump side of it, for example, like I love what he's doing, cutting government spending. I opened the show talking about my most important things, right? Again, right now, the economy is the most important thing to me, followed by infrastructure, education, and then the national debt. Those are my four big things as of right now. And they may change over time. I think defense is certainly getting up there too, especially since it looks like Trump may have revealed too much information to Putin with potentially ending the war in Ukraine, which I don't know how that war is going to end now. It's just looks like another bad deal here. But when you hang out with those kind of people, they just assume that they're always right because their education level is always right, when in reality, it's important to include in small business owners. It's important to include in entrepreneurs along with college-educated people, because the different perspectives, when blended together, in my opinion, creates just a super powerful ideology that allows people to understand how to be successful in this country, because there is no one-size-fit-all approach to politics in this country or to being successful in this country. There are plenty. I had some incredible professors that are dear friends, and oftentimes here on this station, I hear about from my beloved friends here that are like, oh, these college professors don't know what they're talking about. Believe me, I have plenty of progressive college professors that are my dear friends that on many things they're right about. But what you cannot forget about are small business owners and entrepreneurs that have been successful and actually have, the money behind it to say, like, look what I've actually built something. I've actually created something. And I feel like if you blend the ideologies together, then suddenly you can get places with things. So I find myself on Trump's side a lot, especially when I'm hanging out with my incredibly educated friends. And again, I have to tell you, I graduated from the University of West Georgia, so I have an excellent education too. And so with my incredibly educated friends, they're always like, well, we know more than you. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And with Trump, so the reason why this week has been so bad, and just to kind of re-highlight some of the things I brought up in the first half hour, number one, this continued fight with U.S. District Judge James Boasberg from Washington. In my opinion, instead of trying to fight this guy and trying to impeach this guy, there is a clear appeals process where you would go to the Court of Appeals next and then potentially to the Supreme Court. That's the process of how appeals work. And the second that for example, if you believe that Trump was right to take those Venezuelan gang members and just move them to El Salvador with no checks and no balances on there, then just remember that after him, and I've been saying this on the Von Hessler Doctrine, I've been saying it here on the Nightcap, and I will say it again here, the most progressive president will find some way to bring in refugees or find some way to push their agenda down your throat in the future. And you just don't want that. You don't want the president to have that much power. There were checks and balances created to create limitations on the presidency. And again, it doesn't mean I dislike Trump that I dislike what he's doing. You just have to think about what happens if the opposing party gets in power. So I just don't love this fight with, again, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg that's going on with Trump. I didn't think that was popular. Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon going out there talking about how a third term is a great idea and that he's going to challenge it all the way up to the top of the courts. I guess good. Maybe we'll get some clarity to find out whether or not he can run for a third term. I can assure you that I'm 100% out. I probably at that point would vote Democrat just to try to at least make a point and say to these politicians that are eager for power to say, look, I see what you're doing here. You're just eager to hold on to power, and I'm not buying that. So I think I would do a protest vote for the Democrats in that case. But what really, really bothered me was, again, the PR behind the Department of Education. The Department of Education is a boondoggle, and I'm glad that Trump got rid of it. But overall, though, for somebody that has done real estate deals, for somebody that's been in TV, that is a marketing genius, the idea of just abolishing the Department of Education, in my opinion, is not a good marketing tactic for people that don't know what's actually going on here. The ideology, if you're just tuning in, I brought this up in the first half hour, what he should have said was, I'm giving the power of education back to the state. So Georgia has more power to delegate where their money needs to go. I'm giving North Carolina more power, et cetera, et cetera. That's how we should have marketed it instead of saying, I'm just abolishing this organization, because it sounds like you're just getting rid of education. So that's a PR loss on his part there. And the other thing, too, is that consumer confidence is down. And in a country where 40% of people, I would say, are diehard Trump supporters now, I would say probably 35 to 40% are diehard Democrats against the ideology that they want a progressive or they want some kind of Democrat, and then there's 20% in the middle. And when consumer confidence goes down because of all the uncertainty in the market is always craving certainty, whether it's the stock market, whether it's the people investing in the stock market, whether it's you and me just hanging out here in Atlanta. Like you're looking for stability and certainty in your next couple of months. That's how you plan your money. That's how you plan your trips. That's how you plan your life. You hope that there is some certainty. You hope that you have a job going into the next year, because that certainty allows you to know how much money you could spend on your groceries. You get the idea. And with what Trump's doing, and I'm not against the shakeups altogether, but by tariffing nations here and then pulling it back and telling people, we're going to do this to this country, do this to this other country, it creates uncertainty. And the problem that he has is that he thinks that by only appealing to the 40% of people that die hard love him, he's going to just convince other people to jump over to that side. He may be right in the long run about that, but overall, though, what we're seeing is people are changing their buying tendencies, and I believe we've been in a quiet recession for the past year and a half already, so you're only intensifying the quiet recession that we're already in. So if you're just tuning in, a quiet recession refers to a situation where some people experience economic hardship despite overall economic indicators suggesting a strong economy. I thought that with the Biden administration, there were a lot of these economic indicators that suggested that we were in a recession, but they kept telling us, they're like, oh, look, no, it's positive over here. It's positive over there. This is good. Like, everything's good. Well, what are you talking about? Why do you not feel this way? In my opinion, like, some of the indicators were Gen Z's not drinking anymore. I'm like, get out of here. If Gen Z had disposable income to go out and enjoy a nice dinner and go to the bar afterward, then they would be doing that because that's what the generations before them did, and that's what our generation did. And I guarantee you, if they had the money to be able to do it, they would be out there spending money like previous generations before. So there are indicators like that out there, and I worry about Trump. He has to understand that in order to help with his agenda and to help get more Republicans elected in the midterm, he has to somehow swing this economy in a positive direction before the midterms. Now, again, if there was a time to do it, this is the time to have the economic downturn just for a little bit. They say a little bit of pain now will certainly help you out in the future. Maybe that's his plan. But as of right now, the uncertainty that he's creating and the issues with constitutionality are going to hamper his presidency. And if you agree with him on these things, then I would suggest to you to start thinking for yourself on these things, because not everything that he's doing is right. I'm here to tell you there are plenty of things that I like about what he's doing, but overall, with the threat of a third term, and I'm saying threat because that's what Steve Bannon is saying there, the threat of a third term, going after this Washington U.S. District Judge James Boasberg on constitutional, I know better than any judge, and I'll just impeach him, and getting rid of the education department without having a solid PR plan. Those were big L's for the Trump administration this week. And I feel like I've gotten the politics out of my system. So when we come back, I really just want people to think for themselves a little bit and just understand that this was not a good week for the Trump administration. Maybe next week will be better. And maybe I'll be touting the positives. But overall, this was not a good week for him. When we come back, I want to talk about the allergy numbers. I'm surprised. I have the worst seasonal allergies of anybody, and I'm not being impacted so far. I've got this story about California trying to stop AI. It's not going to work at all. I'll explain why. And I haven't even talked about my bracket yet. My goodness, there's never enough time. I got spoiled last week hanging out with you beautiful people for 4 hours during our storm coverage, but I will try my best to get in as much as possible in our last segment in just a few minutes. My Nightcap is proudly brought to you by Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. We'll be right back. This has just been one of those nightcaps where I cannot shut my mouth. I have gone long in every segment tonight, and it's probably because I was on for 4 hours during our severe weather coverage last week, and I got spoiled. That's what it is. I got spoiled having all that extra time, and I have all these stories in front of me. Haven't gotten to March Madness yet. There's no way I'll be able to get into them, so I'm just going to roll through some of these headlines here that I really wanted to cover here. This would constitute as...
It's the news of the night.
Ah, yes, that sounder's growing on me there. It is the news of the night. Number one, some new census data says that Atlanta has dropped 2 spots on the biggest metros list. We have been leapfrogged by both Miami and Washington, D.C. We were number 6, 6th biggest metro in the country. We are now the 8th largest metro in the country, but the populations of all 3 cities are increasing. We did have a population increase, but both Miami and D.C. had bigger population increases. So I'm not upset by that. We're very close to the same sizes as them, so I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of leapfrogging over the next couple of years. Infrastructure is important to that, which gets to our next news of the night. The first public input is available for a Savannah to Atlanta passenger rail trail project with the Georgia Department of Transportation. I love the idea of this. It would be so nice to not have to take I-16 from Macon to Savannah every time. That road, if you've never taken it before, I think it's the world's most boring road between the two. I think having a high-speed rail would be great, and they also want to connect it up with a bunch of other high-speed rail potential projects that are coming down the pipe, one from Atlanta to Charlotte, and then one that would go through Chattanooga and go to Nashville and eventually Memphis. Love the idea of it, and hopefully it's not outrageously expensive. Another news of the night item we're not going to get to. The French Bulldog is the most popular dog breed in the United States for a 3rd year in a row, and people in America are mad. We don't like the French right now because they're not agreeing with us on things, and they're trying to steal our Statue of Liberty back. So people were actually outraged about this story. And I'm like, French Bulldogs are cute. What's wrong with the French Bulldog? And then they're like, I like my Aussie. And I'm like, well, okay, well, then you're now prioritizing Australia over the U.S. You see the hypocrisy much? If you wanted to be a true American, you'd like a golden retriever or something like that because it has no country tie in the name there. Another story here, locally here, very local. Lady Bird is opening a second location in West Midtown. If you are from Atlanta, you know Lady Bird very well on the East Side Beltline. It's an amazing spot. If you've never been there, you've been living under a rock. It's great. Happy that they're opening a new location on the West Side. And last but certainly not least here, there has been an Atlanta e-scooter boom. Ridership is back up to 2022 levels. And they're now, like, companies like Lime are putting more and more scooters out in the Beltline. I love hearing that. I love seeing that people are out and about. They're moving. This is good to see. I want us to avoid this quiet recession that we are in right now. I promise you, I'm looking at this data now. I think we're in it, but the only way that we get out of it is if we can boost consumer confidence and keep on spending that money to spin that economic wheel around. That is our time for tonight. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me. Give me a follow on my socials at Jared Yamamoto. And most importantly, please be safe out there. I'll see you next time.